Howdy everyone, it's Reese, aka Bearman Prime, on this January the 24th. Welcome back to my Read the Bible in a Year series. Thank you so much for joining me once again. Card in the top right hand corner for the rest of the playlist, and please hit that subscribe and notification bell so you stay caught up. Alright, so yesterday we continued our story with Joseph. He's in prison, and then Pharaoh sent his wine server and his baker to prison as well for whatever reason. And God gave both of these men dreams about what's going to happen in the future. He gave them visions of the future. Now, one thing to remember about dreams and prophecy in the Bible, and this is going to be true for now until the end of the book, that prophecy is always told in symbolic language. It's not just like plain and dry usually. It's always told with symbolic language, and this is an example of that. So the wine server had a dream that basically interpreted to after 3 days he'd go back to his old job and get out of prison, whereas the baker's dream was interpreted as after 3 days he'd be executed. Okay, and so Joseph has revealed that God is giving him these interpretations. He's telling him what these dreams mean, giving him that foreknowledge, and now we're going to see where that gets him here in chapter 41 of Genesis, starting in verse 1. 2 years later, Pharaoh dreamed that he was standing by the Nile River. In the dream, 7 cows came out of the river and stood there eating grass. They were healthy, good-looking cows. Then 7 more cows came out of the river and stood on the bank of the river by the healthy cows. But these cows were thin and looked sick. The 7 sick cows ate the 7 healthy cows. Then Pharaoh woke up. Pharaoh went back to sleep and began dreaming again. This time he dreamed that he saw 7 heads of grain growing on one plant. They were healthy and full of grain. Then he saw 7 more heads of grain sprouting, but they were thin and scorched by the hot wind. The thin heads of grain ate the 7 good heads of grain. Then Pharaoh woke up again and realized it was only a dream. The next morning, Pharaoh was worried about these dreams, so he sent for all the magicians and wise men of Egypt. Pharaoh told these men the dreams, but none of them could explain the dreams. Then the wine servant remembered Joseph and said to Pharaoh, "I remember something that happened to me. You were angry with the baker and me, and you put us in prison. Then one night he and I had a dream. Each dream had a different meaning. There was a young Hebrew man in prison with us. He was a servant of the commander of the guards. We told him our dreams, and he explained them to us. He told us the meaning of each dream, and what he said came true. He said I would be free and have my old job back, and it happened. He also said the baker would die, and it happened." Verse 14. So Pharaoh called Joseph from the prison. The guards quickly got Joseph out of prison. Joseph shaved, put on some clean clothes, and went to see Pharaoh. Pharaoh said to Joseph, "I had a dream, and no one can explain it for me. I heard that you can explain dreams when someone tells you about them." Joseph answered, "I cannot, but God can explain the dream for you, Pharaoh." Then Pharaoh said to Joseph, "In my dream I was standing by the Nile River. 7 cows came up out of the river and stood there eating grass. They were healthy, good-looking cows. Then I saw 7 more cows come up out of the river after them, but these cows were thin and looked sick. They were the worst cows I had ever seen anywhere in Egypt. The thin, sick cows ate the first healthy cows, but they still looked thin and sick. You couldn't even tell they had eaten the healthy cows. They looked as thin and sick as they did in the beginning. Then I woke up. In my next dream, I saw 7 heads of grain growing on one plant. They were healthy and full of grain. And then 7 more heads of grain grew after them, but they were thin and scorched by the hot wind. Then the thin heads of grain ate the 7 good heads of grain. I told these dreams to my magicians, but no one could explain these dreams to me. What do they mean?" Verse 25. Then Joseph said to Pharaoh, "Both of these dreams have the same meaning. God is telling you what will happen soon. The 7 good cows and the 7 good heads of grain are 7 good years. And the 7 thin, sick looking cows and the 7 thin heads of grain mean that there will be 7 years of hunger in this area. These 7 bad years will come after the 7 good years. God has shown you what will happen soon. He will make these things happen just as I told you. For 7 years there will be plenty of food in Egypt, but then there will be 7 years of hunger. The people will forget how much food there had been in Egypt before. This famine will ruin the country. It will be so bad that people will forget what it was like to have plenty of food. Pharaoh, you had 2 dreams about the same thing. That means God wanted to show you that He really will make this happen, and He will make it happen soon. So, Pharaoh, you should choose a wise, intelligent man and put them in charge of Egypt. Then you should choose other men to collect food from the people. During the 7 good years, the people must give them 1/5 of all the food they grow. In this way, these men will collect all the food during the 7 good years and store it in the cities until it is needed. Pharaoh, this food will be under your control. Then, during the 7 years of hunger, there will be food for the country of Egypt, and Egypt will not be destroyed by the famine. All right, so yesterday I told you about God's timing is always perfect, and here's that example. So now we have Pharaoh having prophetic dreams, having these dreams of foretelling what's going to happen. And none of his magicians and wise men could tell him because God had not revealed that knowledge to them. But of course, we remember the wine giver. I was like, oh wait, I remember, I forgot about Joseph. So now Joseph is in the right position at the right time to tell Pharaoh what this means and to help the land of Egypt. And so now we see that dreams that Pharaoh had mean that there's going to be 7 years of plenty. There's going to be lots of food, lots of crops. Everyone will want for nothing. But then after that will be 7 years of famine. So bad, there'll be no food for anyone anywhere. And so God has given Joseph the wisdom to tell Pharaoh, you need to prepare now while you have the chance. You need to find a man to put in charge of Egypt and of the food. And so when you harvest and collect your food, 1/5 of it is going to be controlled by you. You're going to put it in storehouses and save it up for those 7 plenty years. Then when the 7 bad years come, you still have food saved up in those storehouses and no one will starve. Okay? Good plan, right? So now we'll see where that plan goes going forward tomorrow. Thank you for joining me once again. Sure do appreciate it. See y'all tomorrow. Bye.